So I am super excited for today's episode of Embroidery Hub because we're going to be embroidering on a 6-head machine, and not only that, we're going to be doing 3D puff, which we haven't done in a long time, and it's actually my first time showing you guys 3D puff, so I'm really excited to show you my tips and tricks. Before we get started, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment something nice, of course. If it's mean, I'll be a little bit sad, but I'll get through it. Don't forget that all of the love that you guys have shown us has really helped us grow to almost 30,000 subscribers. We are a hair away, so any little like or comment is really going to make a difference. So thanks again, guys. Let's just get right into the episode. So in today's episode, I'm going to be embroidering, as you see here, some beautiful Richardson 112 hats. A lot of you guys have requested videos on these, so I'm gonna go ahead and embroider them on a CHT2 6-head that we have right here. As you can see, I already have all of my hats hooped up. I have my colors in the right position, I'm all selected, and I'm pretty much ready to press start. But before I go ahead and press start and show you guys the 3D puff process, I'm gonna show you guys all the materials that I needed in order to complete beautiful cap embroidery. So first off, I went ahead and chose my colors. For this design, I only have 2 colors. Remember, since we are working with a 6-head, you want to make sure that the colors are all in the same position on all 6 heads, right? So I went ahead and put number 1 and 2 as orange and teal for this project. Afterward, I went ahead and changed all the needles here. Needle number 1 and 2 now have 80-12 needles. Remember that when you're working with tough structured fabric like these hats, you always want to go a size up, either to an 80-12 or a 90-14 needle to avoid needle breaks on tough structured fabric. As for backing, I'm actually gonna go ahead and bypass backing on this particular hat because it is already so tough. It really doesn't need any extra stability. Plus, we are doing 3D foam, therefore there's not too many intricate details. If I were embroidering something with very small lettering or very intricate details, then I might go ahead and put the backing in there. So those are basically the materials that I needed on top of my 3D foam. I am using 2 layers of 3mm foam. That way I can get a really puffy effect. Keep in mind with foam, you want to use a color that is the same color as the thread you're using or a very similar one. That way the little pieces of foam that might pop out will not be as noticeable. And just so you guys know, for cap embroidery, as far as placement, there's a question I get a lot is how close to the brim can you get? I would say no lower than 1/2 inch from the brim. So when it comes to hooping hats on a 6-head, you want to make sure that you are lining up the center seam with the little notch in the center of the tab on the cap ring. Doing so is going to make sure that everything lines up perfectly because remember, you cannot move it around on the panel with a 6-head. With a 6-head, one panel controls all 6 of the garments, right? So we're going to need to make sure that these are all perfectly centered when they're hooped. So what I'm doing right now is that I am just going and confirming that everything is perfectly centered. Everything looks good. So as of right now, I am pretty much ready to run. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and press start. Alrighty, so it's time to place the foam, and I have 2 sheets of foam per hat. I'm gonna go ahead and just loosen the tension just a few turns on the top knob right here, just to make sure that it's not too tight for the foam. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that now. Now I went ahead and placed 2 sheets of foam on each hat. Now if you want, you can actually go ahead and place 2 pieces of tape on each side, but it's not always necessary. Usually when the stitches go ahead and stitch, it's able to hold it down on its own. So I'm gonna go ahead and press start. So when you're embroidering caps, always make sure that you have your bobbins in so that you don't have to stop in the middle of a run. However, if you do ever have to stop in the middle of the run, all you have to do is take out the cap. What's good about the cap ring is that it snaps right into place exactly where you left it off, so it will not lose registration. However, I still do not like risking it, so I try to work around it whenever possible. Now remember, when you're working with a multi-head, if you're changing the bobbin on one, I recommend changing the bobbin on all the heads so that they can all be synchronized and you don't have to stop every 10 minutes or so to change other bobbins out. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it out of the machine. It is done with the stitching. And now I'm gonna show you guys how I clean up my 3D puff embroidery. And this honestly looks so great. It's stitched out without a problem. Not a single needle break in sight. Only one bobbin chain. All right, so as you can see, I am getting rid of the excess on the M right here. There are going to be some parts where you're going to need to do this. And now I'm just going to do this up until it's pretty close to looking good. And then once, oops, there you go. So all I do is kind of like tuck it under the thread, right? So I kind of push it in there under the thread. Question is, how do you get rid of these tiny little bits here without damaging the thread, of course? So what you're actually going to use is heat. The heat is going to help shrink the foam underneath so that these little pieces of foam are no longer popping out of your embroidery. So the best way to do this is with a heat gun. Now, if you do not have a heat gun, you can use a few alternatives, like perhaps a blow dryer or a lighter. Now, of course, with the lighter, please be extremely careful because you don't want to burn your thread. So you're going to want to hold it far away. However, I do recommend, if you're doing this for business, invest in a heat gun to properly clean up your 3D puff embroidery. And it looks like it has cleaned up most of the foam. Now I'm just gonna go in with a higher temperature. All right, and that looks really good. It seems to have gotten most, if not all, of the foam. All right, so I went ahead and cleaned up the puff and it looks so, so good. I am very, very happy with how these hats turned out. I'm gonna go ahead and rock this to the Ricoma HQ. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about cap embroidery, I do have a video where I go into detail on my hooping technique, which I always say is the most important part about cap embroidery. And as you guys can see here, we went ahead and embroidered these 6 hats, 3D puff at high speeds without any issues at all, using Richardson hats, which I've heard are a bit tricky to embroider. But like I said, if you are hooping correctly, you should have no problems at all. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know below. Also, don't forget to join our Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery, if you have any other questions or if you want to share a tip. You can chat with there, collaborate with other embroiderers and apparel decorators. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you guys so, so much for watching, and I will see you back here next time.